It is another Real WW Talk. Hello, I'm Erin.
I'm Candice.
And I'm Rikki.
Ladies, let's get this show on the road. Candice, who is up to talk about their week first?
It's Radiant Rikki. Rikki, I cannot wait to hear about your week. Let us know how you did. How you doing?
Awesome. I had a great week. I was down. The scale showed me being down a pound, and I was happy with that.
Woohoo!
I continued with my challenging workouts with um, the Know Your Power Zones training and Peloton. So that was definitely a challenge. It's challenging me to work harder for longer, stay in a more difficult spot. It's very mentally challenging, as well as endurance on the bike. So continue with that. I made some hard choices throughout the week to say no a little bit more. So continuing to strengthen that no muscle. So that felt really good. And it was good to have that reinforcement with the scale.
That is awesome. And okay, so which out of all of those do you think was like, you said it was a great week. Had
Mhm.
you gained this week at the scale, would you still classify it a great week based on all the other things that you talked about?
Well, last week I had a gain. I called it a good week. So I feel
Yeah.
like I would have said it was a good week. I probably wouldn't have said great. I think those things combined, like the weight loss and the behavior change, make it great. I'd say I would probably have said good if it was just behavior change, which, is a whole conversation of itself of like, that should be great. That's the biggest challenge and biggest reason why I've been in this journey for so long is changing my behaviors and my mindset.
I just love that you're pushing yourself. I'm doing the Power Zone training too. So, those workouts are definitely intense. And I know that that's something you really wanted to do. And
Mhm.
for you to have the action to go with it, that is awesome, especially going into holiday seasons, increasing that endurance. So,
Mhm. Thank
congratulations.
you. Thanks, ladies.
And,
Yay.
I've gotta give both of you a big hand because I thought it was really cool, over the weekend, we had some of our members in the Real WW Talk Facebook group, and, if you're listening and watching and you wanna join us, just find us, Real WW Talk, just search for that on Facebook, but both Brittany and Renee, both became Peloton members over the weekend. Peloton
Join the cult. Join the cult.
yeah, I mean, I think Peloton owes you guys some money here.
I know.
Yeah. I think they do too.
But I love that I mean, both of you have been really dedicated with your Peloton workouts. That's the thing that has been working for you, and I think that's so positive. I mean, Rikki, people hearing you, what you just said, you've been digging in deeper and doing some harder workouts, and that's inspiring others to join in and do Peloton with you. And there's like a whole community, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
A
It's a
lot of people.
following, but I even love the people. There was someone in the group. I don't have the Facebook group up, but they had a Peloton. Erin, you inspired them to get the Peloton.
That's right.
Mhm.
And you can use the app or whatever other classes that you want to do. I'm just glad to see that people are exercising and finding new ways to move their body because
Yep.
Mhm.
we're getting into that season where it is tough. It's tough to get out for walks. Sometimes it's dark outside, so just being able to move inside the house and find new ways for movement makes me happy.
Yep, and I
Mhm.
just looked, it was Brittany.
Okay.
Brittany has the
Okay.
Peloton, but she signed up through the Peloton app. But I think that's a great point, Candice, that she made it work for her. It's like she
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
wanted the commitment of that community, but couldn't
Mhm.
quite afford it, and so
Yep.
she found a way. That's so cool.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
All right, who's up
Um,
next?
so, me and my type A analness. So the next person would be me.
Get it,
So
girl. Okay.
I had a wonderful week. We start off with the weight loss. I'm trying to do the focus more on how I felt. I've been really in control and just feel like I did when I lost that first 50. I think I've told you all that before. Like I've just been very intentional about my choices, finding in ways to get in fruits and veggies, walking, exercising, staying within my boundaries. And I lost 2.8 this
Wow.
week. So I am almost down 10 pounds for the month,
That's
which is
amazing.
That's awesome.
it's amazing. And I am choosing to be very excited and not to be scared. Because like I told
Yes.
you, this is a very exciting but uncomfortable place for me to be because I can start to get really focused on trying to make things happen. And I have to just relax and just do the plan like I know I need to do it and not start to get fanatical about it.
Mhm.
So I'm really, I think all of the talks with you guys has been very, very helpful. So
Mhm.
I laughed because the leader or the coach, we had a sub this week and she weighed me in and she thought that I had lost 7.8 pounds this week. And I almost went with it. Okay. Because I don't know if you remember, week before last, I was sick and
Yes.
I didn't go to the center. And for those of you all who weigh in a center, if you weigh in at home, the center doesn't count that weight, even if you log it in the app.
Mhm.
So
They
according
don't
to
see
their
it.
scale, they didn't see the
Mhm.
5 pounds I had lost. So she was like, "You've lost 7.8." And I almost let her believe it. I really should have. But I said, "No, no, ma'am, I did not." It was only the 2.8, but I'll take it. So
Mhm.
Yay. Well,
yeah, I'm
I
just,
want to affirm you on the not making it because you're already doing the program right now and you're almost down 10 pounds.
yeah.
What the only thing that would be different if you were trying to make things happen, right, would really be just adding frustration
Hmm.
into the mix and hurry
Hmm.
that doesn't need to be there because it's already happening. I mean, what did they say? Half a pound to 2 pound up on the high end is an average weekly
Right.
loss.
And
Mhm.
I see that as, and see the part of me that I have to turn off is seeing that as a challenge. It's kind of like the
Mm.
GPS telling you that you'll get somewhere by 2:30 and you're like, "Oh, really? I'm going to get there by 2:25. Let's see." And being like, "This is not this is
Mhm.
not the GPS. This is not Waze, just let it go the way that it's supposed to." But I'm very pleased with my progress. So,
Yeah.
And I think it's great you have that awareness of, the difference between times before where you would manipulate things or, try and take advantage of like different scenarios, like you've mentioned the sauna before and things like
mhm.
that, like that could be unhealthy. And you're acknowledging this time, no, I'm doing it the healthy way, and you're getting reinforced by that. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you guys. You all have been a big part of my journey, so I love it. But enough about
Yay.
me, Erin. How was your week?
I'm still recovering from that past week. I was actually up weight this week and I was up because I didn't track and I didn't follow the program.
Mm,
I consciously didn't do it. And I do want to say thank you to the folks who did weigh in because I talked about last week about running created some kind of like exercise induced anxiety in me. There's nothing happening in my head that would make me have an issue. It's true. Like I feel fluttering in my chest. I'm holding on to weight. It's definitely an anxiety response over something that I'm not anxious about. I'm actually
Mhm.
pretty disappointed that I had to stop running.
Mhm.
But it was nice to hear from other people who have experienced same or similar things. And so I feel like my body is still trying to kind of get itself back together. But at the same point, I leaned into it's like into the cravings that it is like it wants to hold on to fat and it wants to hold on to carbohydrates. And I just kind of went with it. And so I was up 2 pounds
mm,
and I don't like that in my head. That's 3,500 calories, which means if I've gained 2 pounds, I ate in excess of 7,000 calories last week, right? Because that's what's in a pound. And so in my head, I'm rolling over, what did I eat 7,000 extra calories of? But at the end of the day, I know that I ate more than what I usually do. And so this week, things are feeling a little bit better. And I'm trying really hard to resist what my brain is telling me it wants and really fighting back, like so much so that I had, red pepper strips and hummus. Like I'm trying to tell my body what to do when I'm eating celery and hummus or red pepper and hummus.
mhm,
Right?
mhm.
So, I mean, that's where the space is
Mhm.
right now. So, and I
And I
don't
think
like that I'm off track. That's the thing is like I feel off track, but I have to keep telling myself this is just 2 weeks and it's just 2 weeks. Now it could
Mhm.
turn into 2 months if I decided to, keep going down that way, but I need to I need to listen to what my body is telling me, but at the same point, I still need to say no in my mind to some
yeah.
things.
But I love what I heard you say, which is you said this week that you were saying no. That
Right.
okay, whether it be the hummus or whatever it is that mentally makes you feel like I'm turning the corner now, it stops now. You're doing that. You're not just wishing on a prayer and wishing and hoping that it's going to happen. You're putting action behind it. And realistically, maybe you ate 7,000 extra calories last week, maybe. But I also wonder if there's other factors. We always talk about that sometimes with eating more, that might be more sodium. There might be some other things. So, but I'm just glad that you were willing to take accountability of how you were feeling and the scale. Cause sometimes that's when you want to hide from the scale and say, I'm just not going to weigh in. But you took accountability and now you've put some action behind it. So,
I think it kind of plays into something, Candice, that you had brought up about managing impulses. Managing our impulses, and then especially over the weekend here on the East Coast in the Baltimore, Washington area, Saturday started out at 83 degrees. And by the time we got to about 2 p.m., a cold front had rolled in and it dropped over 20 degrees. Like it instantly became sweater weather. And there was a little switch in my brain that went, oh, it's time to roast meat and root vegetables. I instantly started wearing flannel in my head and I got out my Dutch oven and I was like, we are braising things now.
You made a soup that looked good, or maybe it was on Instagram. I saw it.
Yeah. So I have a friend who is down with COVID and then his entire family got COVID on top of it now. And so they're struggling hard. And with COVID, you can't go out. And so when you need food, thankfully we now have grocery delivery services, but when you're sick, you don't feel like cooking. So I went ahead and made them like a whole meal plan, a whole bunch of meals. But one of the things I made for him was it's Budget Bites, BYTES, and it's the vegan sweet potato peanut stew. It's one of the most delicious things I've ever put in my mouth. And on the blue plan for 1 cup, it's 5 smart points. It's I'll link it in the podcast and on the on the show notes, even for YouTube, and I'll put the link in there. It's so good.
My goodness. Wonderful.
I'm gonna have to add that to my list for meal prep next week.
Do it, girl. Do it. But that was definitely, now I made it for myself this week because I was like, that's an impulse. Like I'm going to eat that. But I looked it up and I tracked it. How do you guys feel right now, especially as we're going into Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, knowing all of the candy, all of the cookies, all of those things that are on the shelves and could potentially be in our homes right now?
Yeah. I'm struggling. Well, it's because I've been very in control of my choices. I have been able to resist a lot more than I usually have been in the past, because I have cake in the house right now, and you know me, okay? I'm talking, I have 2 pieces of cake and a nothing bundt cake, little mini buntlet.
Wow.
And I have not touched it. Okay.
I'm sorry. Who are you right now?
I
just
don't
made
know.
me double chin.
This is, I don't know who this person is. However, I attribute it to me feeling so in control with other choices and really flexing that no muscle. But I did have a time last week where the mini Starbursts that were in my house and Reese cups got me in a span of an hour, where I was still feeling in control. It's just I came home and I was overly hungry and I went for it. And I caught myself after an hour, but I am concerned about when I allow myself to get hungry. How do I manage the impulse when I don't have anything readily prepared to take away the hunger? That's when I'm most at risk.
Or when you have something readily prepared and you're like, I don't want that.
Yes.
I want this.
Yeah. You make a meal that's like really supposed to be very healthy for you. And you're like, I don't want to eat this, but it's Weight Watchers says I should.
I've got salmon in the fridge right now to cook. And I'm like, I was really motivated on Saturday. I was in the mood for salmon. And now I'm like,
yeah,
not calling your name anymore.
Nope. Nope. I wish I was the person I was on Saturday.
Right.
I can relate to that. And even so, like, I wish I was the person I was 2 hours ago. Because for me, certain times a day, I can be the most strong-willed person. And then it's like 2 o'clock hits and I want to eat everything in sight. I have a lovely, lovely coworker, very well-intentioned, who brought in a bag of Reese's. And I don't even know if she eats them, but she told me where they were and she's like, please take as many as you want. Well, so I don't take them in the morning, but when I'm going to prepare my lunch and I have to walk by the area where they are, I I have a hard time saying no. And it's like I'm going to eat lunch. So I'm going to like be filled with food and have that, food in me soon, but I think in that moment it's so challenging to just say walk by, you don't need it, because I'm still feeling the impulse of I'm hungry and I'm not like feeling satisfied or desired for, that food that I have in my hand right there.
Yeah. It's like that no muscle. We haven't worked it enough. So
Mhm.
it's kind of, and I know that. So I feel like I need to do things to prepare myself for those times, because I do know I'm weak in that area right now. Sometimes I get a little overconfident and
Mhm.
maybe I shouldn't, I really shouldn't be as confident as I am, because I'm still learning how to process in the moment when my why seems far away. Because I think the
Mhm.
why is the thing that's supposed to root us in the choices and help us go, okay, I'm not going to do it. Sometimes the why,
Mhm.
I forget. I'm like, what was my why again? Oh,
Mhm.
baby, me, health. Oh, give me the Reese,
Mhm.
give me the Starburst.
And that's when the excuses come in too. Like it's like, oh, I know my why, but this one Reese's here, it won't matter. Full and well knowing that like one Reese's could turn into two, which can turn into three. Like it goes back to the lies we kind of tell ourselves when we're impulsive. Like, do you guys find that you're more likely to lie to yourself when you're already in a place where you're being impulsive?
Oh,
And I'm
yes.
really good at it too. I'm very convincing.
Well, I think this also goes back to discipline. I mean, Candace, I think you're a perfect example of the discipline. I mean, if this was Candace 6 months ago, there is no way all of the cake and the little bun would have lasted,
Yeah.
right? But look at the work that you've been doing in discipline to now where it's sitting on the counter, it's sitting wherever, right? And you're not looking at it. Like you don't have one eye on us and one eye on the counter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I almost want to go get it to prove it. Like, I feel like I don't believe me either, but I want to show you guys and be like, look, I promise, or get my husband to be like, it's true, because I don't believe me. But I do think there's something to the fact that I've been seeing success, not just on the scale,
Mhm.
but that's
Mhm.
motivating to me. And I always knew it feels like a car engine, when you're trying to
Yeah.
rev an engine up to get the car started. And I brought up this analogy before, when you're still trying to get it started, it's like, and it doesn't start. That's how I've been feeling for the past year. Just every week,
Mhm.
not there yet, not there yet. I
Mhm.
feel like the car is on and I don't want to
Mhm.
lose that.
Yeah.
And so that is very, very motivating for me, more than the cake.
Yeah. It's
And
giving yourself wins. You've been giving
Mhm.
yourself wins along the way.
yeah,
Mhm.
Okay, so for someone who is sitting right now and going, I cannot conquer this. I know you guys are talking about managing impulses, but I'm literally meal to meal right now. What do you think has been a part of the baby steps? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I often feel like I've got it's like an all or nothing kind of a
Mhm.
thing. But, Candace, you and I have and Rikki, we've all been in some good places recently, but
Mhm.
it's not because of all or nothing. It's been baby steps along the ways, right?
mhm, mhm,
I think the things that have been helpful is the basics, the things that are so simple that we forget from day one, like water. And am I thirsty? Is this really a true hunger signal, or am I thirsty, or is it a combination? Um, have I had fiber? Have I had protein? Like, I think there's some days where I start my morning with not as good of a choice for breakfast, or something that's not a terrible choice. It may not be high in points, but it doesn't have protein in it. And then I find that by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I feel really hungry. So I think sometimes thinking about how am I doing with my basics and my, all those things that got me started in the program.
Mhm. I think for me, I didn't throw away a weekend. That was my turning point. I'm a Saturday weigher, and Saturday and Sunday, as much as I would talk about me understanding that there's boundaries and limits, Saturday and Sunday were free for alls. And then I would go into the week feeling guilty. And we've talked about that cycle. And I decided to make a different decision on a Saturday. And I woke up on a Sunday and still had 30 of my weeklies left.
Mm.
And then I challenged myself to keep them through a Sunday. And I got to a Monday, and that started it because, like Rikki said, for you, it may be the High Point breakfast in the morning, but choosing to break a cycle became motivating. Just that one thing, that one cycle break, that 1 week was enough for me to want to keep going. But it was hard those first 2 days. And then that's what I mean. I think that I was looking for it to be comfortable and for it to make sense and to recognize that it's going to feel a little uncomfortable. It's going to feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's okay because it's worth it. There's a reason. If it were easy, we would all do it. I mean, or we would all be at goal right now. It's difficult to tell yourself no.
Our pastor this week at my church gave a really good example. He was introducing a new series on habits. And one of the things he had us hand out dominoes to everyone who came in. And of course, it didn't really make sense at first, but he talked about how the domino, there's, some probability like equation where you can look at the force of one domino and the effect it has on the next and the next and the next. And basically a domino can knock down and turn something that's 10, 20, 30 times its weight because of the effect of it knocking down all the other dominoes. So he had this visual of a domino knocking down like a CD and then it knocking, a book, which knocked down a record, which knocked down. Eventually it got to a door. And it's like looking at that first step and those smaller steps, you think, well, how is this little domino or this little effect or little habit going to knock down this giant door? Well, it's the force and the momentum of all of the little steps that came before it. And I thought that was a really beautiful analogy of, the little steps and the incremental steps that we make that build to something so much bigger.
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about managing the impulse, we're looking too myopically at something. I think it's less about managing the impulse and it's managing everything else, because the impulse suddenly becomes so much smaller when we're thinking about it in relation to what you're saying, Rikki, too, and what you're saying, Candice, about it's all of these big things pulled together at once. It has a greater impact. That impulse is so tiny in comparison because we've done all this other work. It's like not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
What do you think, Erin, I was thinking about when you made the switch for yourself, you started walking and you took something that wasn't a routine for you and you made it a routine. And I know that you had the impulse that you gave into, I think it was last week we discussed it, but you kept up with your walking, right? That didn't change.
Nope.
And that's something that I think that we don't acknowledge as well when we're talking about our impulse and the changes for this journey that we're in currently. In the past, for me, giving into an impulse would mean all
Stopping
or nothing
everything.
mentality. I'm not walking. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing know your power zones. Don't talk to me. Don't ask for any accountability. I see growth in all of us. And I wonder for those who are also listening, have you kept up with the other habits, even if you may have stumbled a few days, and how does that relate to what we're talking about? Because there's growth there that needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, if I'm like even looking back at the journey of my habits to today, right? Like this is just, like I said, it's just 2 weeks. It's just this little 2-week span. It started with walking, and that's now a couple months in. It's a couple months of me just making that a daily habit. And then recently, about a month or 2 months ago, I added a morning walk into the mix. And then it was the water, making sure that I'm getting the right amount of water every day. And then the food actually became that next piece. And Candice, what you said about the weekends, not throwing the weekends away, that I remember that being a topic for us a couple months ago, right? We're like, we're just going to try really hard to not blow our weekends. And that was a major shift for me as well, not blowing the weekends. But that's a couple months. Like all of this is a couple months of change, little bits, little bits, little bits. That's not everything all at once, trying to do it all in one day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes back to too, something I've heard a lot of people say. I'm trying to compare my day 1 or my day 5 or whatever day it is to someone else's, finish line, which may be their day 365 or whatever it is. I shouldn't be comparing someone who's able to do all of these skills, or who has a lot of those things together and is maybe a goal. I shouldn't be comparing me working on my goals to that person and where they are at their finish line. I think when we get caught up on those things, we can be really hard on ourselves, and it doesn't help us to achieve our goals.
Yeah. And I think that when we're talking about the impulse and tying all of that in, for me, where I am is I don't know what the answer is on how to stop an impulse or how to not give into it yet. I'm not there. I wish I had the crystal ball, but what I am working on right now is minimizing how long it lasts. So, okay, I had the Starburst. I had the Reese. I did it. I pull out my tracker, track it right now. Tell somebody who I feel accountable to, this is what I did. Let's talk about it, is what I'm trying to make a part of my process, and limiting it to that time frame and moving on. I'm not going to eat dinner. I'm not going to eat anything else. I can't believe I did it. Let me beat myself up. But let's move on. And whether that be, I'm not going to skip weigh-in, I'm going to drink water, whatever moving on means, that statement of doing the next right thing, I think is so important, because I think what really gets us is how long we let the impulse last and how we let it become a moment that becomes a day, that becomes a week, that becomes a month, that becomes a year.
Like, how did 10 strawberry Starbursts and 6 mini Reese's cups become 1 month off plan and 8 pounds in a gain?
Mm-hmm.
How? Because if I just go backwards and go, okay, well, that was not what I had intended to happen today, but it is what it is. You're already on the next step and you're down 3 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just remembering, I don't know, that's what we have to say in the moment, but the guilt, oh, it's so hard. The guilt is the worst. It's
right.
How could I have done that? What is wrong with me?
Right.
How many times am I going to keep falling? I mean, I'm really great at beating myself up. I have all the words like, I just cannot believe you. Why would you even have it in the house? What do you got? Rah, rah, rah. It's like, oh my goodness, just
right. It's just 10 strawberry Starbursts and 6 Reese's cups. Is this really worth how I'm talking to myself as if I don't have any worth?
right.
And sometimes when we put in the tracker, like sometimes it is atrocious, sometimes it's horrible, but sometimes it's not that bad. And just having it there on paper gives us the ability to move forward and you just put it in the past.
That's what we said about light. It's shining light on it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not be in the darkness. Anytime we're in the darkness, for me, is when I want to go into myself. I want to hide from the tracker. I want to hide from people. Just don't look at me. And I have to get out the flashlight. No, look at this. See this 80 points? You know what that is? That's the Halloween candy. Sure is. I ate it. Let's talk about it, or let's not. I'm going to weigh in. Gain 3 pounds. Sure did. That's why I said I was proud of you, Erin. I went to weigh in. I gained 2 pounds. I'm now eating my lentils or whatever you said you were eating, hummus, something that I don't eat. I know it's one of those, but I couldn't remember which one. But you went and you said that's what I'm going to do. Whether it feels good or not, I'm going to shine. I'm going to talk about it. You
Yep.
brought it up here. You didn't go, oh, I had a great week. That's when lies start,
Yep.
all of that.
Yep. No, it's true. Candice, I'm so glad you said the light and the dark thing, because the more that we pull these things out of the darkness, out of hiding, it's really just exposing those things. Even if it's just to yourself, it's that moment of honesty that lets you move forward.
I'm human.
Surprise.
Shock horror.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to, again, what will other people think? I know that's a big one for me. What are people going to think if I told them that I ate 10 Starbursts and 6 Reese's? Somebody may say, gosh, that's a whole lot. Others
I
may
would have
say,
said that's it.
others would say, hey, girl, I had 12. But can I sit in the moment that somebody could judge me and say,
Right.
that's fine. I understand that for you, that is major, and I did it. And I'm going to move on from it. Because if I don't, I promise you, it will get worse. The weight will come back on. And that's how, full transparency, that's how I put all of my weight back on that I lost. I had an impulse. I'll never forget it. It almost makes me want to cry because I had gotten down and was feeling so great. I had an impulse and gave in. And I gained 9 pounds that next week. Oh my goodness, because the impulse became something else. And I could not handle the feeling of the weigh-in person who I was giving all of this power, seeing a 9-pound gain. So I skipped the meeting. And then I was like, I'll get back on this I'm just going to take the weekend. And it just started me down this trail. And that's how you go from 50 pounds down to putting it all back on. I went straight into hiding because it felt safe and I wasn't ready to handle everything that came with the honesty.
Yeah.
And I wish I had not done that, because if I could go back and talk to that Candice, I'd say, girl, own that gain. It happened. I'm not even going to go to the impulse of what did you eat and why did you eat it? I mean, if there's some reason, I don't know, but it's more how I handled it that got
It
me
comes
back
back
to where I am
to
now.
what you and I often struggle with is perfectionism.
Yeah.
We didn't do a perfect week, and oh my gosh, everybody's going to see how imperfect I handled this week. And now someone else knows that level of imperfection. And it's not like I'm going out and striving for perfection here, but that is for me, that's a massive failure. And therefore others will see me as a failure. That's probably more along the lines of what it is.
Which is also, I had a YouTube channel at that time, and if anyone who watched me after that, the video stopped coming because I didn't want to acknowledge and to be open with the failure. And that's also why I can be sometimes a little hesitant even here. I'm excited about the loss and the big losses that I'm having, but I'm like, if I keep putting this out here, the week that I'm going to have a gain is going to be a week where I'm really going to have to be like, ladies, okay, I gained 2 pounds. Okay. My name is still Candice. I'm here. And that's going to be really tough. But I know that is going to happen at some point. I know that. Not because I am claiming defeat, but because life happens.
But I feel like you have been honest. I feel like all of us have been. And that's the difference in this time in the journey, is that we've shared everything. We've been open about our struggles and the weeks that we haven't been as successful. And I think that's the difference. That I think you're doing it already, Candice.
Yeah, I just don't try to think about anybody else who's listening. La, la, la. It's just the 3. Because I have visions of people on Facebook or on YouTube saying, like, I just cannot believe that girl gained 2 pounds. I mean, really, But that's, again, what we do to keep ourselves stuck.
Yeah. And to go along with that, I mean, this is something that I've talked about before. And again, it comes to that hiding. Look at everything that you have to offer. Look at everything that each of us have to offer. And when we get ourselves stuck and we start hiding in that moment, right? We retreat from everyone and everything. And what happens is people lose out on the opportunity to experience the sweetness of the kindness of Rikki. They miss out on the opportunity to experience the forthrightness of Candice and the expertise that she brings to things, right? And it's all because we have shame built in around eating whatever it may be, gaining whatever it may be. And so we retreat.
Mhm.
And I think this is when we talk about managing the impulses, if a couple of Reese's cups are going to keep us in hiding, man, cut the Reese's cups,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be, because to me, that is not worth losing out on these beautiful people. And for someone who's listening right now, there are things that you bring to the table that no one else brings to the table because no one else is like you.
Yeah.
And truly, your family circle, your friend circle, your work circle needs you.
Yeah.
They need you in their life.
Yeah.
And when you're retreating because of a cheeseburger or a donut or one more cupcake, man, push through that. That's
Because the
all of
lie you
us.
tell yourself is that your voice doesn't matter. I mean,
Yes.
and you believe it so wholeheartedly, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Mm.
Rikki and Erin can talk. They'll be great. Rikki is very, very smart. So is Erin. They don't need me. Rikki, if you felt that way, Erin, the same thing. But there's a reason in this space, like you said, we all three of us may bring a different perspective to the conversation. But when you feel like a failure, and that's a label that you've put on yourself, you
Mhm.
diminish the value of your voice. And
Yes.
I think what you're saying, Erin, is so true. We all have something to bring to the conversation. We all have something to bring. We bring value, but it's hard to see it when you're
Yep.
so negative. And like
Yes.
you said, the food and the choices can just bring you so low. That it's because it's the ultimate in why do I keep
Right.
doing the things I know I should not do? It's biblical. Why do I
Yes.
keep doing it? Right?
Oh, it's the sin that is within me.
It's my flesh, but
Right.
but
But
you want to say
for the grace of God,
yeah.
that's right. That's where it's like it doesn't become that. I know we're diving into Jesus
Yeah.
here for some folks who maybe aren't faith based, but that's something that we hold very deeply for us, is that we believe in something that's outside of ourselves that pulls us forward. I don't know what it may be for you, but very firmly believe that that's Jesus who has changed our lives, and we can take a hold of that change.
Mhm.
And I don't hold on to that enough.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think that really understanding that the way that you show yourself love is in those moments when you are tested, because it's a
Yeah.
test when you have exercise self-control is not punishment.
No.
And,
Yeah.
so I think
Oh,
sometimes
put that on a quote.
I made a quote, I made a meme. No, but I think I viewed it that time many times as punishment. So for me to
Yes.
say, no, I'm not going to do that right now.
Mhm.
Somehow I've made that a negative, but it needs to be, this is something that I'm doing that is powerful and healthy and showing myself that I care and that I have worth and that
Mhm.
I can do. That is something that is a dialogue that needs to change. Because with an impulse, I feel like I'm winning something
This
when I
no
didn't.
isn't just a plain old negative
Mhm.
no. This no is a yes to that future that I'm creating. It's
Mhm.
a
Right.
yes to not being in hiding. It's a yes to moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
a yes to the habits and the domino effect that I want to build, like Rikki was talking
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
and it's undoing and saying it's okay to undo the love that my grandmother showed me through pound cake or whatever it was, and saying she still loves me. She didn't mean me any harm. Saying I could have as many pieces of pound cake I wanted when my mom was saying no,
Yeah.
but it's saying that I can still receive love. I can still give love to others, and I can still love myself without showing it through food, because that was never what it was. It was an act, but it wasn't really, the love's not actually in food. It's like it's
Yeah.
the gesture.
And can we also be honest that for me, don't you just get tired of the cycle? Like, I think I also got there too, where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm tired of the yet again, I gave into this, but it's okay. I forgive myself. And at some point, Okay.
You're
Okay.
full of it.
I love you enough. Stop.
Yes.
Stop it. And
We
this
talked
isn't
about that a couple,
yeah.
2
Yeah.
months
The tough
ago?
love.
Stop.
Mhm.
Stop it because it's enough right now. It's enough and I love you enough self to say, you know what that's going to do. Don't do it.
Mhm.
And even if I do give in that time being like, okay, but for real. For real this
Stop
time.
hurting yourself.
You're
Stop.
hurting yourself. You really
Mhm.
are. And you can see it in other people. But at some point, do you want to be well or do you not? And if you want to be well,
Mhm.
then we are going to make a different choice. And if not, as Erin said in that meeting that I told you, and I was annoyed with her when she said that people will stop believing you. And if you're a person who likes to be believed and people go, yeah, there she goes again on that WW, that'll last a week. And you're like, that's not true. Well, your actions are showing it. Do something different.
Yeah.
And I
You
want
say
my
no to the
actions,
impulse.
right?
Yeah.
We want our actions to match our words on it.
Yeah. And we're worth that. And we're worth the health. And in the impulsive moment, that's hard to hear and
Yeah.
it's hard to remember, but it's an opportunity. So the impulse and saying no is the good thing. That's the switch.
Yep. So I'm going to let you have the last word there because I just think, boom, mic drop on that. Ladies, that was a really awesome conversation. I love when we can go deep like that. That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Unscripted, I promise.
I love it. We do want to highlight our meeting coach of the week. And Rikki has this week's meeting coach. Let me add her into our stream. If you're over on YouTube, you can see her picture and you can see the virtual workshop schedule. But if you're on the podcast, obviously, we'll give you the audio version of it. You don't need me telling you I'm giving you the audio version because you're listening. Hello.
So this week, this past week, I felt a little bit like I was bingy, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go home, eat my dinner, and go to a meeting. So I found Michelle B's meeting, and I was so excited to go. I love seeing that there is some diversity in meeting leaders. So I hadn't really been to a lot of different types of meeting leaders. So I saw that Michelle B had a meeting. I think this was Tuesday afternoon or evening, and I decided to go. And I just absolutely loved her meeting. She just is a very vibrant, very positive person, and just had a really great way of engaging her members. And also, just her meeting was very organized, but at the same time, people spoke freely and shared about their weeks and their successes and trials. Um, but she just had a really great way of asking questions and engaging people. I really enjoyed her meeting and will definitely be attending again.
I'm so glad that you actually sent something out to us and then posted in the group um, that you were attending the meeting so that others could join you in it. And so I popped in with you, and you're so right. I mean, she was fun. She
Mhm.
was funny. She ran a tight ship. I loved that about her, and just direct and to the point in a really awesome way.
Mhm.
Yes,
And
I
she was
want
great
more.
with names too. I really appreciated that. She made sure that she pronounced people's name who came in, and I was, someone new, and she said, "Hey, how do I pronounce your name? I want to make sure I got that right."
Yeah,
And I was there for 5 seconds because my son started screaming afterwards. But for the 5 seconds that I was there, I was thoroughly impressed. I just had to give some I had to give some feedback. But yes, I'm excited to go to another one of her meetings because I really would like to see more.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, Michelle B, and that's B as in boy, B as in Branham, B as in bodacious. Check her out. She's awesome. That was a fun meeting.
I was waiting for another B, Erin. You left me hanging.
Give me
B
another
as
one. B as in
Bold.
there you go.
bold. There you go. There you
Love
go.
it.
I love it. Well, ladies, awesome chatting with you as always. I love our time together, and we wish you. Thank you so much for joining us on Real WW Talk. If you want to connect with us throughout the week, of course, find us in the Facebook group. I mean, it's such great community we get so much out of just being with all of the 1,000+ members in the group. And you can find us on Facebook. Just search Real WW Talk. We are on Instagram. Rikki is always posting some really great recipes there. I'm usually posting like an exercise picture of some kind. I'm pretty basic like that. And you can find us on Instagram, Real WW Talk. And then, of course, YouTube. If you're on the podcast, you can watch us do this live, see what we look like. And, of course, all the 500 million facial expressions that go with everything. Yes.
And the curled hair in front where you don't see the back. That's all
Come
on
on,
YouTube.
Don't tell them
Do
your
it. Do it.
secret.
Transparency, okay? This is real talk.
Now that you've said it, you've got to turn around so everybody can see.
I just want you to see this little poof back here that's not curled. This is curled here. And this is how you pretend that
No one
your
would
hair
have
is
ever
done when it's
known.
not.
Candice shows up every week looking so amazing. And Rikki's always got, look at you.
I love that that's what I give off. That is the whole point. I always tell the secret, like the one earring and the no earring over here with the hair here.
You
Like
need to stop.
just to keep it real.
Stop telling everybody your
I want people
secret.
to know that perception is not always reality.
Oh my. And meanwhile, I'm over here in a sweatshirt looking like your schleppy cousin. It's so bad.
I just wish they could. I'm just so glad that they don't have the full shot of like what pants you're wearing. I already told you we're not going to go there.
No.
I won't stand up. Don't worry.
I love it. I love it. Well, we wish you a great week and a great week managing your impulses. I hope maybe you were able to take something from this conversation. We were able to maybe encourage you this week and that it's okay to say no to yourself. And also remember that doing the plan 50%, if you're in a struggle right now, doing it 50% is way better than doing 0%. So you just need to show up and give yourself one win this week. And those wins will begin to build into a habit and create that domino effect like Rikki was talking about.
And do the next right thing. If you did find yourself stuck, just do the next right thing.
Okay, do it. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.